Good afternoon, Sooner Nation. Welcome back to the Sooner Surge. Appreciate every one of you that has been liking and commenting on our videos. Those who are subscribed, have your notifications on. We appreciate that. If you haven't done that, do so immediately. Also, we'd ask that you would check out the fanstop.com for all your apparel needs, specifically here, those officially licensed national championship softball shirts. The links are in the description. Check them out at fanstop.com. Uh, Prior to this video, we've done some videos about the incoming freshmen and who OU has had it added out of the portal, Hunter. And there were some questions from viewers. So we want to address those questions. And those questions were, how many will Patty Gasso and company have on the roster? Is there a limit? Is there a max? Is there a minimum? Things like that. So we thought it'd be a good idea to kind of cover those things best we can, because it's hard to find some of that information, honestly, especially on the NCAA website. But let's go over first some of those incoming freshmen. You have 8 incoming freshmen. Again, those are Sydney Barker, Gabby Garcia, Tia Malloy, Katie McKay, Cheney Helton, Riley Zakay, Corey Hicks, and Audrey Lowry. That is who the 8 that make up that incoming freshman class. On campus right now, you have 8 currently from last year's team. Nellie McEnroe Marinas, who redshirted last year. You have Maya Bland, mainly was a pinch hit role and pinch running role. You have Hannah Core, right? Then you have Sydney Sanders, Ella Parker, Cassidy Pickering, and you have then the Kirsten Deal and Peyton Monticelli. That rounds out those 8 that are on campus. There's your 16. Of course, now you've added the 4 portal commitments in the last week and a half. So, Hunter, that gets you to 20. So I think what people are wondering is, if Kennedy comes, obviously there's 21, right? And I'm going to let you talk on that number, and if that is a set number, things that we've researched and found out, Hunter.
Yeah, in the last week and a half or so, Oklahoma added Isabella Immerling, Abby Dayton, Alina Agbagnani, and Isabella Smith. So that makes 20 there. If you want to look at recent years, this is dating back to 2013 for Oklahoma. They had 21 players back in 2013 on that team. 2014, 18, 2015, 19, 16, same. 2017, 18, and then 21 in 2018 and 2019. They only had 19 in 2020, and then 23 in 2021. I think a lot of that in the COVID uptick, the COVID year, everyone getting an additional year, and kind of the incoming freshmen you had on that team as well. I mean, you really look at the core freshmen that Oklahoma seniors, that Oklahoma just graduated. A lot of them came in 2021. 2022, you had 22 players. 2023, you had 20. And then in 2024, there was 21 players on the Sooners. So I think that's really kind of the max that Oklahoma is going to go to is 21. That would be if they land Najari Kennedy. I think if not, they're probably going to stick at 20, because there's also some travel restrictions in the SEC. From the latest updated travel restriction that I could find, it was 20. At one point, it was 2022, but I believe, or not 2022, 22 players, sorry. I believe they moved that down to 20. You can have 22 players for the Women's College World Series, but there's not really anyone in the portal right now that would make a whole lot of sense for Oklahoma to go after, and then also try to land Najari Kennedy on top of that to put the roster at 22, maybe even 23 if they wanted to add 2 more. It just doesn't make any sense right now. I think 20 to 21 is where you're going to see this 25 team stick at.
And I agree, Hunter, that it doesn't make sense to go to 22 unless there is just an option that you said, there's no way we can say no to this. And there's just not right now. Kennedy is the one to get to 21. And I think what's changed, Hunter, and I know there's, maybe you can have, 23, 24 on the roster, but when you can only travel 20 in conference play, it doesn't make sense. And here's the deal. Who would do that as a player, especially in the days of the transfer portal? And that's what a lot of people, I think, aren't thinking about maybe, or just because you're not going to go sit and not even be able to travel with the team when you could go get some experience somewhere and then transfer to that team maybe in a year or two. So I think that's probably changed some things. But and also with what OU has position wise, it's not like they're low or short on a certain position group where they may need to add that 22nd player overall to build that one position group. I think they're pretty solid across the board in all position groups. That's the only other way, Hunter, I think maybe Gasso would go to 22. But I don't see that, do you?
No, I'm with you, Jerm. The pitching, it really last year was kind of an anomaly for Oklahoma to have 6 pitchers on the staff. And even then, they really only used 4. Right now they have 4. There's obviously Kennedy in the portal right now. That would be 5. Agbagnani also can pitch some, so maybe 6 if you wanted to go down that route. But I mean, really, as you mentioned, the team is kind of set positionally. Outfield, there's about 6, I believe. There was 4 incoming freshman middle infielders. You also bring in Agbagnani. That's 5 there on top of what you already have. Nelly Macaro Marinas can also play some middle infield, if not third base. But outfield, they're set. Catcher, there's 3 catchers now on the roster between Riley Zakay, Corey Hicks, and Isabella Immerling. So I think really, why would you add an additional player? The portal is closed. The only other entries that can enter are for coach changes. So even then, there's a few that entered from Louisiana that are talented players, but you would have to imagine that they're probably heading to Texas Tech or not Oklahoma in that scenario. So there's in 2023, look at what Oklahoma had. They only had 20 players on that roster, but look at who they lost after 1 year. They lost 2 very talented players. Jocelyn Erickson won Player of the Year in the SEC. Nugent has been very good for Tennessee as well. And that's just to name a few. They lost players on that team. I think, as you alluded to earlier, roster sizes are going to start getting smaller with this day and age of the transfer portal. There's only so many players that are going to play consistently. And I just don't imagine that there's any chance that Oklahoma would go to that 23 number for this season.
Yeah, and like you said, 6-5-3-4. That's kind of the layout of the position: outfield, middle infield, catcher, and pitcher. Right now, and you add one more, it could be 6-5, 3-5. With Kennedy would be the addition. You also you talked about those who have lost a head coach having that window. And here's the thing, Hunter. Again, even if it's a really good player, they're not going to come here to OU. I mean, if they're going to have to struggle for maybe playing time, they're going to go elsewhere right now. And Patty Gasso, in her last tweet, it wasn't a Go Boomer tweet. Maybe that's soon. Let's hope so. But her last tweet, Hunter, was, if you remember how she ended that tweet, it was 21 plus 1. Okay, and that's another reason that number stood out for me. We'll see if it's 21 plus 1 this next year, as maybe they add Kennedy. I still think that is a likely possibility, but there's kind of a recap of what OU has coming in, what they have on campus, what they've gotten out of the portal, and what we think Patty Gasso might do if they land Kennedy or don't land Kennedy, and where they might cut that roster off at. But thanks for watching the content here. Comment on the video, hit subscribe. Appreciate it. Till next time.